On June 1st, 1921, the Tulsa, Oklahoma neighborhood known as Greenwood was looted and burned to the ground by a white mob. 35 city blocks were destroyed, and 300 people are believed to have lost their lives. 2 days earlier, an encounter between a black man and a white woman in a downtown elevator sparked a confrontation between whites and blacks, which resulted in the destruction of one of the nation's most successful black neighborhoods, famously known as Black Wall Street. As we approached the 100th anniversary of the massacre, we wanted to meet and hear the voices of those who live and work in the Greenwood neighborhood. With that, we present Greenwood, Here and Now.
All right, so joining us now is former OSU football player and former Buffalo Bill, Reuben Gant. Reuben, how are you today, sir?
I'm fantastic, thank you.
You got it, man. And one of the reasons that we're calling you up first and foremost, primarily, is because of your connection to Greenwood, to Tulsa, and specifically you growing up as a black man in Tulsa. You didn't hear about the race massacre until you were already in Buffalo. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So what was that experience like, hearing about that?
Well, I mean, it was kind of shocking, especially since I had ancestors that were victims of the massacre. But it was a revelation. I mean, it was something that certainly I took an interest in and got into it feet first.
You certainly did, and I guess, once you hear that situation, once you hear about it for the first time, it must have been jarring, must have been eye-opening. What is sort of the reason that you think, not many people were taught about it growing up?
Well, I was told that one of the reasons was that victims did not want to have history repeat itself. And by that I mean they didn't want to share the devastations of the community and their homes and their properties with their children because they thought it would incite their children to do something that would probably cause harm and devastation to them. So they kept it quiet. I mean, it was like a protection mechanism, protecting our kids from harm.
That's very interesting, yeah. And you see now, 100 years later, obviously we're coming up on the centennial anniversary, that you're seeing a lot of these documentaries being released. I think Russell Westbrook's doing one. I think LeBron James might be even producing one. Does it give you more optimism that more people are now figuring out about it? And what are your thoughts on some of these documentaries and series that are coming out about Greenwood?
Well, I mean, I think it's long past due. Of course, we're talking about a part of American history, not just African American history. And the story of Greenwood is actually the story of America. And it's a story that hadn't been told for 100 years. And we're talking about the most devastating act of civil disobedience in American history. It's not a part of history books. It's not taught in curriculums in public school systems. And it should be. But it's long past due. In terms of the documentaries that are being produced, what that does for Greenwood and for Tulsa and the story that hadn't been told is exposure. It is educating America about its own history. Dr. Franklin, John Hope Franklin, our namesake, used to say all the time, the truth in history is dependent upon who's writing it. So our efforts and push here in Tulsa with the John Hope Franklin Center is to correct the historical record by being truthful and forthright in what history is.
That's outstanding. Yeah, I was going to ask you, to sort of to tell the audience out there, because I could do it, but I think it'd be better coming from the source itself. Reuben, could you tell us a little bit about the mission of the John Hope Franklin center, and sort of what your daily responsibilities are for it.
Okay, well, 15 years ago, we made a decision to step up to the plate and address issues that really, at the moment and today, in some respects, have been taboo. I mean, everybody finds it difficult to talk about racial issues directly. And so we, 15 years ago, recognized that the only way that we would get to resolution was to address the issue head on. And so we took on the mantra of educating the general public, being truthful about historical facts in an effort to correct the historical record and to infuse enough of a presence of blacks into the fabric of American history that the stories of the United States can be told adequately and fairly. And that's a quote from Dr. Franklin. So we're about scholarly work. We're about unearthing untold historical facts, in particular when it pertains to Greenwood and the story of Greenwood and the contributions of African Americans in the establishment of Tulsa. And that's our mantra, that's our mission, and that's our goal, is to, again, like I said, correct the historical record.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I saw in my research of the John Hope Franklin Center that one of the other mantras is from tragedy to triumph. What do you think that I guess triumph in the face of tragedy will look like in the Tulsa area and in the Greenwood area more specifically? What do you think that will look like?
Well, I mean, we reflect back upon what it looked like in 1921. From tragedy to triumph. And you look at the climate in 1921, or really pre-1960s, pre-civil rights movement, and the oppressions of blacks, the racism that had to be endured, segregation, Jim Crow laws. Here you have a community that is subjected to all of these atrocities that not just survived but thrived. It created a city within a city, so to speak. And the entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial spirit of the community lent itself to creating this environment of what then could be considered good quality of life under the circumstances. So that was a triumph in itself. And so to go through this tragedy of total destruction and decimation of a community, and then to rebuild itself without any help or assistance from the perpetrators, the government, this community rebuilt itself stronger, bigger, better than it was before it was destroyed. And that's a triumph. So our effort today is to not rebuild Greenwood in a sense the way it was, but to revive the vibrancy of a community of Greenwood, and to move forward into this 21st century mode, to become an integral part of Main Street America. And that's worthy of Greenwood. It's worthy of any community in any city that they have fair and equal opportunities to become a part of Main Street. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Right, and when you look at Greenwood now, and I'm not sure, do you live over there, Reuben? Yes. When you look at the community as it stands now, how would you see that prosperity? Like, what are your thoughts on like the current state of Greenwood, and in what ways do you think it may need to improve in any ways? If you have any evaluation on that.
Well, we made some progress in Greenwood, but there's a lot of progress to be made in terms of development, in terms of inclusion in the process of development. This community, African Americans, historically have been disenfranchised and not felt a part of the whole. That's all that any individual or any group of people, any sect would want to be, is a part of Main Street America, be a part of the whole. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bridge a gap. We're trying to make people aware of different cultures, different traditions, different practices that aren't similar to theirs. But at the end of the day, the motto for us is, our differences does not have to become our divisions. I mean, we can agree to disagree, but we need to learn how to coexist in a respectful society. And that's our efforts, and that's our intent, is to expose cultures to other cultures, find commonalities. The commonalities certainly far outweigh our differences. And so there's a lot to look forward to if we're open to taking that step forward.
And it sounds like with the foundation that you guys have set up, it sounds like you guys are doing a fantastic job in making strides toward that step. So I definitely applaud you for that, Reuben. Thank you so much once again for joining us today. If you'll let me too, I want to ask a couple two more questions, more lighthearted questions this time.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Reuben, what's your daily life now, all these years after the NFL and your time with OSU?
Well, nowadays, what I try to do is play as much golf as I can. I spend a lot of time at the John Hope Franklin Center, but certainly I, try to enjoy my life as best I can, and I've taken up the game of golf. I love it, enjoy it. Try to play it every day. I made some great friends on the golf course. But I spend most of my time doing that. If I'm not at the John Hope Franklin Center, I am playing golf.
Are you a better golfer than you were a football player? Because you were a great football player.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, I would say that I wouldn't make the pro circuit. How about that?
Dang. A lot of historic OSU golfers here at this school, too. So, that's kind of disappointing, Reuben. I'll tell you what.
Well, that's right. I even thought about getting on the senior circuit. But other than that, I'll just play for fun.
That's right, man. That's right. And last question for you, Reuben, is what are your thoughts on the current state of OSU football? You keep in touch with the program at all? Do you keep watching?
I do watch OSU football, and I do go to games occasionally in Stillwater. The program has certainly matured and made strides since I was there. But I'd like to think that when I was there, we laid the groundwork and the foundation to be where they are today. But the program has certainly done itself well, and I think will continue to do itself well. They're playing exciting football, and the Big 12 is certainly one of the most prestigious conferences and most competitive conferences in the country. So they've been, keeping their own. So I'm proud of them.
No question that your team's had a great part in that, Reuben. Like I said, thank you so much once again for joining us today, sir. And you have a great day. Thank you so much for all you do for the community as well.
Well, thank you very much for having me on today.
You got it, man. Have a great day.
Well, thank you.
Greenwood Here and Now is produced by the O'Collie Media Group. Thank you for listening.